Alright guys, Scrappy here, and I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. With Skyz officially joining OpTic yesterday, he's gone into great detail last night with Scump about exactly how this went down, how the Warlord, it seems, Shotzzy was involved again. He is never beating the allegations after sending an emoji to Skyz that kicked this whole thing off. But also, Skyz spotted it in some scrims last night with the team getting it underway. And based on the pixels that we can see on the screen, it looks like they're winning the series against a particularly interesting team we'll get into in rather emphatic fashion. Very much interested to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Of course, lots to talk about this yesterday. Scrappy was in Burton farming or whatever you want to say. Dashy was in the replies, and it was all going on. But of course, it was officially confirmed yesterday that Skyz is going to be the man. I think it makes the most sense of all the options in terms of the vibes and the chemistry and what he's going to bring to the table. You know, you might say, oh, Friendship League, Skyz has been playing 8s with Pred and Shotzzy for the last month, but also it also goes to show, I think, how this helps, because if Skyz wasn't grinding 8s over the last few weeks, if he had the mindset of, oh, well, you know, I've been benched, I've been dropped, but I'm still a world champ, I'll get back in the league regardless. I'm not saying that players necessarily have to play 8s, but keeping in the circle does help, because if you play with these guys day in, day out in money 8s, when they need someone to sign, they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to say, hey, are you the man for the job? Which clearly Shotzzy thought probably was the case in this instance. Of course, Skyz being available and gettable and with the ability to play a bit faster, move to the flex role. Is there a bit of a concern that Shotzzy might get left out to dry somewhat by the trio that they now have formed around them? People are looking back at, let's say, the Cold War OpTic team, when it was Envoy, Scump, and then Formal and Dashy, and, you know, really the Formal and Dashy AR duo is, I mean, until this duo that we've had, it's not like Formal or Dashy necessarily slow players, not like they have to be slow players, but they are certainly slower AR players than others may be, and the Formal Dashy AR duo didn't really work, potentially because I thought both of them were trying to do the same thing on the map, really. They're both trying to be the main. They then had Scump and Envoy, and it's not like Scump or Envoy were massively fast. So, you know, worked on occasion, but mostly that OpTic team that season was pretty limited in terms of their ceiling, and I think top 3 was the maximum placement they got that year, but better than 12th, better than looking like one of the worst teams in the league. So, if this new OpTic team is somewhat similar to that in some regards, it's better than where they presently are, but maybe it's not enough to get back to the top. I think there's definitely a question out there right now as to, okay, fast forward 12 months, is Skyz still wearing the OpTic jersey? It's not impossible, but come the off-season, you know, you would expect they might take a different approach, but really it depends how the rest of the season goes and whether Skyz and Dashy as an AR combination can actually work, because I don't think they're looking to get rid of Dashy, right? Like, I think he will likely stay, unless he goes through a similar cycle to what Kenny's had recently, but that seems pretty unlikely. So, you know, the dream is true for Skyz. It's obviously after years after making that YouTube bio when he was like 12 years old that he wanted to be part of OpTic one day. That's now exactly what has happened. Whether he can perform at a level and whether OpTic can perform at a level that makes this last the test of time, that is a very interesting question. But I think for the moment, this is the right call. The question really is whether, you know, the timing could have been different, as we've discussed over the last couple of days. But they do the silhouette. Of course, they have the same thing when Pred rejoined as well. They did it with Scump, actually, just a couple, like yesterday, when they were kind of teasing what was going to be happening here. But, you know, yeah, Skyz joined OpTic. Obviously, loads of likes on this one. Formal's happy to have him there because Skyz is a player that will bring some serious positive energy to the team, as we'll see from some of the clips in a second. There was a feeling from Skyz that, obviously, really, the internal dynamics at OpTic were not looking great. And Karma can say what he wants on stream. The OpTic guys can say what they want on stream and podcasts and stuff about the fact that, oh, you know, with Kenny, there's still no issues between us. It's all okay inside, outside of the game and all this. But, you know, the reality is that everyone knows when you start to lose loads of series in a row, it always takes a bit of a toll. And did anyone really believe that things were perfect internally at OpTic? You know, everyone was micro-analysing all the body languages in the podcasts and stuff. But I think for understandable reasons, that clearly things were not perfect there. And inevitably there was going to be some trust lost in Kenny if he simply couldn't turn his performances around. So I think it was pretty inevitable that the vibes internally were going to depreciate, and Skyz, I think, will help that considerably. So I think that for the moment it makes sense. Dashy's talking about it as well. You guys probably remember when Skyz was on Florida in the first year when they had that partnership with, I forget what they were called now, but they did the advert with Skyz about investing in his game, and that lived on as a meme for a good, like, 3 years. It got kind of annoying at the ends, but finally that stopped, and now maybe Dashy's going to be bringing it back. So then Dash and Scrap have a bit of a, don't know why I called him Dash, but you know what I'm saying. They had a bit of a back and forth in the replies. But it's now official. The Call of Duty League made this announcement graphic. Kenny is dropped off the organisation, not benched, which is pretty crucial. I wouldn't have expected them to bench him. That's not something that OpTic typically do. And I don't imagine that he was on a small salary, let's say. So dropping him entirely, I think you have to pay him off a little bit. Like, the teams can't just say, oh, we don't want you anymore, we're just going to terminate your contract. I think they need to pay an extra month or two of salary or something like that. But effectively, it can still save you money. It does cost you as a team to change. It's not like, I mean, obviously, you shouldn't just be able to drop a player immediately with no notice and sign another one on the same or less money. You know, that doesn't really work for the players anyway. For the organisations, sure, there is some sort of leeway in terms of when they can make these announcements, but Skyz is now an official OpTic player, which is kind of remarkable. I know this clip was doing the rounds as well. If you guys haven't seen this one from Black Ops 4, the infamous Skyz versus Methods 1 versus 1. Lineman was telling me last night, actually, that it was the only time that he actually ever met Methods was just after this moment, and he obviously met Skyz and the LG guys as well, and they were pretty happy about it. But yeah, this was definitely one of the gunfights of all time at the World Championship in 2019. But I wanted to share a couple of moments from this. Of course, here you go with Scump and Skyz. Scump sat down with him to kind of talk about what's been happening, how it even led to this point, kind of roasting him, not roasting him, but, you know, looking back at that YouTube bio that he wrote when he was about 12 years old, saying that he wanted to join OpTic. So, you know, happy for Skyz, right? Like, getting this dream come true moment, I think it's pretty cool for him. Hopefully he can make the most of the opportunity. But I wanted to share a couple of clips from this. Scump also was shutting down the rumours and the suggestions that he's somehow general managing the team. I don't really know if anyone, like, properly believes this was the case. I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments below? Does anyone actually believe that Scump was calling the shots over there, or do people just say it in his chat to troll him? Because I think everyone knows that within reason, obviously Hex has a say in what happens, but fundamentally the players will give their perspective, and Shotzzy is, well, he may not be, you know, the captain in the same way that Kenny was presumably the kind of captain of the team in terms of comms and leadership and that type of stuff. Kenny doesn't get to call the shots in terms of what they do with their roster. That is Shotzzy, the superstar, whatever you want to say, of the roster, and, you know, the player who's the face of the league in many respects, Shotzzy right now. So he fundamentally, if there's anyone who has the most power and control and the keys to OpTic Texas, it is Shotzzy. We have been knowing this. Scump probably hears about things, but it's not like they're calling him up. If Shotzzy gives Scump a bell and says, hey, Seth, what do you think about this? I'm sure he might give us perspective. Does it mean that he's shadow GMing like, you know, Doug said to Martin presumably was for Boston last year? Probably not. But I find it funny about these whole Warlord allegations, right? So Shotzzy always gets called the Warlord as if he's making the difficult calls and he's the one calling the shots. And often people kind of shut this down and say, oh, it's not all about Shotzzy, right? Like, clearly there's other things going on as well. Turns out a lot of the time it is all about Shotzzy, because Skyz reveals that, I don't know exactly when this was, but I'm presuming it was after the LA Thieves series. Kenny had a 0.3, and that seemed to be, you know, a serious turning point. And, well, Shotzzy hit up Skyz, dropped him a couple of eyes emojis, and then Skyz was like, is this guy trying to say what I think he's trying to say? Then they had a conversation. 48 hours later, this was a done deal.
We love to hear that. Yeah, and I just kind of want to touch on it. I mean, obviously Kenny came in, got the ring for us. I mean, we love him. I mean, we love Ken, and this is so sudden, even for me. I mean, again, people are like, they think I'm the GM. I'm not the GM. I heard about this a couple days ago, obviously, but we're gonna miss Ken, and now you replacing Ken. We hope that you come in and do your thing, man. I'm excited to excited to watch you get out there, grind, and excited to see what you can do with the team. So
I appreciate it. I'm excited to show people. I went from like losing full, playing eights, missing scrimming, and then to finally getting a text, and then I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm actually about to probably join these guys.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about like how did the text like go down, because this happened like again less than 48 hours ago. Like how did it happen? Was it like?
That's pretty basic because me and Answer are like are pretty close. All he did was send me eye emojis, and then I responded with like,
that's it?
Yeah, like eye emojis. And I was like, bro, like you guys need a reset or like some good vibes or something, like anything. Like you guys seem mentally defeated, and then we just slowly went from there.
Got you.
But it's pretty basic.
So production's a little bit fucked up for this one. I'm not gonna lie.
So
but the last time
I gotta learn with them.
It's no question that you're good friends with Shotzzy.
Yeah.
You guys play eights together a lot, always in the late night calls. How is it to officially now be teammates with him? I mean, top caliber sub, funny. I know you guys are gonna get along.
Yeah.
How's it feel to have him with you on the squad?
I mean, it feels really good because I know he's like a very vocal sub, and then his playstyle, like, he reminds me of Paco, and like, I think they're very, very similar. So I'm like kind of excited because I feel like I can enable him more, like I said earlier. So, and my vibes, I'm gonna make him fucking laugh every day, just like everybody else. And I don't know. I've always thought he was godlike. I thought like the only two people that I think were like the most impactful subs were him and Paco. And then now I get to the team with the other one. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of turned.
This, though, is the other big piece that was going around last night. So, Skyz was spotted in presumably a scrim, and I'm pretty sure this is a scrim, as we'll get into right about now, with the new OpTic guys, right? So they've changed rooms at the X corner, so you can probably tell from the background maybe it's not set up as they might otherwise have had it, but they've moved around a bit, and Skyz, of course, has been there with his team, getting in some practice, going into the start of, well, the major tournament, where they could only play one series and lose, but if they don't, and if they start to make a decent run, that will maybe consolidate that they've made exactly the right decision, and maybe even the exactly right time. Let's have a look at some of the pixels here, because this is Skyz. He's playing, he's playing Claw, you can tell. I mean, look at all the details. And on the left-hand side, you will find this. So let me just zoom in even further. So this, unfortunately, is the best that we have in terms of screenshots here. But you can see that Dashy's got a couple of kills in the feed. There's someone else challenging him right about here. First of all, I guess we can look at the scoreboards. OpTic are about to win. The blue is nearly at 250, and whoever they're playing is, I mean, it seems like they're about there, which would be what, like 180, 175 or something like that. So, maybe even slightly less. So anyway, whatever it is, presumably a pretty comfortable map win here on the Vault hardpoint for OpTic. And then people are trying to figure out, okay, who are they actually playing against here? Like, who is this? And, I mean, look, we do not have many pixels to go off. However, some people have said this first letter of this word looks like an L, which is plausible. The other thing to note is that the last letter of this word is also clearly capitalized, I would say, as is obviously the first letter as well. So, I mean, and it almost kind of looks like an R. I mean, I might just be seeing things here. But anyway, this looks like an L. If there's an L, there's only a few options in the league. You've got Lunarz, you've got Lynz, and you've got Lucky. Now, Lunarz and Lynz obviously both play for the Gentlemates team, and apparently OpTic scrims them the day before, so like the first day with Skyz, apparently they scrim them then, which makes it presumably less likely they would scrim them the next day. The other option is a Lucky. I think if I had to guess what team this is, and as I say, there's not an array of evidence, this is basically what we have. This might be very slightly worse quality than the original, but I think that if there's anything happening here, that is probably Lucky, and that is probably Rencor. And I know that we're basing that off like 0 pixels, but I think it's plausible that that's an L and therefore that's Lucky because that looks about 5 letters. And then Rencor with a capital R at the end and a capital R at the start, presumably maybe 6 letters. So anyway, that's the conclusion that most people have come to, that OpTic was scrimming Miami yesterday, and on the Vault hardpoint they beat that team relatively comfortably. That's basically what we have to say for now. Doesn't mean that, like OpTic are frying in scrims, they're back. Like, okay, no. We don't have the evidence to suggest that, and maybe if OpTic get good with Skyz, we can actually start to watch some of their practice again. That might be nice for Shotzzy to bring that back. But, the early signs are presumably positive, I think, for this OpTic team, that at least they're moving in the right direction as it stands. But very much interested to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.